Hello, dear ones, and welcome. It's Maverick Mystic here with the Spiritual Society for another reading for you today. This one is all about you versus him. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you perceiving? What are you wanting from the relationships? We're going to be comparing both of you in this reading here today. And so arrive in this moment, take a nice deep breath, center yourself, and remember that it's our mission here at the Spiritual Society to help clear blockages away from you, energetic blockages that you may have, so that you can live your most aligned life. And so, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, go ahead now. Allow your intuition to guide you on this one. Tune in, choose a card, and we shall begin. Hello, card number 1. Welcome to this reading. You versus him, and we're going to be starting this conversation or this exploration here with the first card, and these are his current thoughts about you. All right, his current thoughts about you. And I want you to treat this card as we begin this reading to tune in whether or not you resonate with this at this time. And if you do, stick around. If you don't, then I'd love you to go ahead and choose a different card from a different pile. All right, so the Knight of Wands. And so the Knight of Wands, it represents enthusiasm, adventure, and also impulsiveness. And when it comes to his current thoughts about you, I think this card is suggesting that he sees you as someone who brings excitement and passion into his life. He is likely to think of you as a vibrant, dynamic individual who always is ready for the next adventure. I think he thinks of you as someone who embodies the qualities of the Knight of Wands in that sense, right? So you're energetic, you're adventurous, full of life, and your presence kind of sparks a sense of excitement and spontaneity in him. He admires your willingness to also take risks and your ability to sort of dive into new experiences with enthusiasm. He also sees you as a person who adds a spark of excitement to his life, making things that more lively, more sort of unpredictable for him, and I think he quite likes that. And he thinks of you as energetic, and you really have in by ways of his thoughts about you. I think he really does see you as someone who brings a lot of passion. You're dynamic, ready. It's a readiness to embrace new experiences, and I think those qualities are really resonating with him. He really likes that. As for how this might be influencing your relationship, well, I think his thoughts about you being that source of excitement and passion that might make him feel more alive and motivated to sort of embrace new experiences generally, and he likely feels invigorated by your energy and inspired to be more adventurous himself. And I think this perception can create a dynamic where both of you are, continually pushing each other to sort of explore new horizons, keep the relationship vibrant, keep it sort of, alive and lively. And this card also, it can symbolize that, maybe it's asking you here to consider how his perception of your adventurous spirit might influence his feelings and behaviors towards you. Does he see you as someone who can keep up with his pace and match his enthusiasm for life? Reflect on how this admiration for your qualities really shapes the dynamics of the relationship between you. What kind of expectations are woven into that, and the potential impact of that. All right, so reflect on how his perception of your adventurous spirit might influence the feelings and behaviors towards you. Consider how his admiration for your energy and enthusiasm shapes the dynamic of the relationship, and embrace the sort of adventurous nature and continue to bring excitement and passion into the relationship here. The Knight of Wands embodies this sort of high energy vibration principle, showing that sort of the importance of maintaining high energy and enthusiasm in shaping relationships. And so that will also form part of the sort of mythology of the relationship as well. The high energy aspect of it, and that will have all a variety of influences on the relationship itself. Okay, right. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to ask really what his current feelings. Okay, what his current feelings are about you. All right. So it's kind of like the thoughts. That's what his kind of perception of you is at the moment, in his feelings. Okay, interesting. So this is like almost a little bit of a contrast in the sense, really, with this sort of outward, passionate, adventurous kind of spirit. With the moon, this is very much an inward-facing, introspective kind of angle here, representing intuition, emotions, and the subconscious as well, predominantly. And I think when it comes to his current sort of feelings about you, this card to me suggests that he may be experiencing a range of deep and complex emotions here. He might feel uncertain or confused about his feelings, and they may influence um, and they're influenced by his sort of subconscious mind and the hidden fears and limiting beliefs that he potentially carries, past experiences and whatnot. So there's very much fears associated with this card, but I think he feels a strong emotional connection to you, and that they're entwined with a sense of uncertainty and mystery and excitement, I guess, tied into that adventurous sort of spirit as well. And you may be sort of pushing his boundaries in terms of like his comfort zone, right? You may be sort of stretching him out beyond his comfort zone, which can cause a little unease at times when we do that. That may be a little bit of that indicated here. But I think also, I get the sense that his emotions are not entirely clear to him at this time. He might be sort of struggling to understand the sort of depth and the nature of his feelings, and there could be a sort of hidden fears or insecurities, really affecting his emotional state, maybe causing him to feel a little conflicted or unsure about how to express his feelings. There's a newness to that he's sort of still trying to sort of grapple at the emotional level. And I think he feels, ultimately he does feel a deep emotional connection to you that is complex, that is multifaceted. And however, there is an element of confusion as well, and uncertainty generally. Um, that comes along with that. Is what I've sensed with the moon. Yeah, again, and I think this is a lot of his subconscious sort of fears and patterns that he's bringing into the connection. I think his feelings of uncertainty and sort of complexity they might lead to moments of emotional distance or maybe confusion in the relationship. There may be some sort of misfiring and some misinterpreted signals that he's giving off, and he might be hesitant to fully open up or to commit due to this sort of unclear nature of his emotions at this time. And this can create a dynamic where he needs reassurance and time to sort of explore his feelings more deeply, I would say. And the moon really also, I think it's asking you to sort of consider how his emotions of uncertainty might sort of influence his behaviours towards you, and to maybe not either read in too much into that, or to sort of have a gentle conversation around that to help explore and illuminate. I think this card is also really offering us the sort of overarching feminine Overwatch energy of the feminine in exploring the uncertainty that he's facing, and that with that nurturing, gentle sort of touch. I think that would be a way to approach this potentially undiscovered terrain of his. This may be a whole new kind of sensation that he's going through right now, and it's unfamiliar terrain. And so just be mindful. Just be mindful of his programming. Just be mindful of his past intentions. His past experiences that may be sort of guiding his next move. All right. Speaking of intentions, let's see what his intentions are. Okay. Well, there's newness in the air. There's possibility. There is definitely a new way of moving and doing things, shall we say? And it ties in sort of to the newness that I spoke about with the moon here. And I think the pentacles represents like I said, those new beginnings, but also new opportunities, new potential for prosperity as well, potentially here. In the context of his intentions towards you, I think this card suggests that he's considering a fresh start or a new phase in your relationship. And I think he intends to bring stability, security, sort of tangible growth to the connection. I think that's where his mind is at least. And so, yeah, I think his intentions, overall are grounded and they're practical. And it indicates that he wants to sort of invest in the relationship, build solid foundations for the future. It's very an outward facing, and I think he's more comfortable in that area rather than the introspective aspect of things. Outwardly, he may be wanting to manage the uncertainty of his inner world with certainty in his outer world, right? He's trying to sort of create that balance there, but that'll actually not work out too well. I think real true balance and harmony is when one can really explore the inner landscape, become at peace with that, and then begin to broaden that out, ripple that out in the material realm. A lot of people seek solutions out there when really the solutions are inside, okay, and we sort of do it in that direction. But that's part of the journey here for him, I think, as well. I think he intends, like I said, to bring that stability and that security to the relationship, which is a good intention. And I think he's focused on building a strong foundation as well, and is committed to investing time, effort, the resources to making the relationship flourish. So that's a noble thing. I think he sees great potential in the connection, and I think he's enthusiastic about the possibilities of the future together, which is a great thing, right? So I'm going to start placing the reads for him over here, okay, and then we'll move over to you here, make it a little bit more organized. So yeah, the Ace of Pentacles also is an opportunity to consider how you can support and nurture this sort of new beginning as well, and are there ways that you can contribute to building a strong foundation for the relationship, whether that's through communication or otherwise. Reflect on how you can sort of align your efforts and goals with his intentions to create a harmonious, prosperous partnership, if you relate to them, if you share that vision. There's a call to articulate a shared vision here as well, I would say, in this card. And just remember that the principle of correspondence, that cause and effect, that every action has a corresponding reaction, and that we have the power to really shape our destiny through our thoughts, actions, and intentions, in that order. And yeah, I think the Ace of Pentacles really embodies the principle of showing us the potential for growth, the prosperity through deliberate and thoughtful investment. And so as you reflect on his intentions, remember that your sort of combined effort and intentions will create the foundations for that stable, secure future, if that is the shared intention, we could say. Okay. Let's explore what some of his challenges, and we've already sort of hinted at it there a little bit, but let's see if we can elaborate a bit more. What are some of his challenges in the connection, in the relationship? Okay. So Temperance. All right. So this is an interesting card to pull in the context of his challenges in relation to the connection, because for me, this represents balance, harmony, patience, and in the context of his challenges, I think this card suggests that he may be struggling to find balance and maintain harmony in the connection. Maybe he might have sort of difficulties in integrating different aspects of his life, or maybe managing his emotions in that sort of balanced way. Okay, so that, I think it's really hinting at that emotional landscape that he's finding kind of unsettling, we could say. He doesn't really know how to deal maybe with the affection or the encouragement, maybe those kind of positive experiences may be alien and strange. So I think his challenge really does lie in achieving that sort of harmonious balance between his personal desires, responsibilities, the relationship also. So that's like an external balancing going on there. It indicates also that he may sometimes feel pulled in sort of different directions, finding it hard to reconcile his needs with those of the relationship. And I think this can lead to feelings of frustration or maybe impatience when things don't go smoothly as he'd like. I think he struggles to maintain balance and harmony in the relationship because of that, and he may find it challenging to integrate his personal desires. As I said, that's the biggest thing. He's got some internal desires that may not be too clear to him, that he may be visualizing that they may be contrasting to the relationship in some way, but that could also be an illusion of some sort. So there could be some occasional tension or misunderstandings in the connection, in the relationship. He may sometimes come across as being sort of torn between different aspects of his life, which can create a sense of instability or inconsistency, even though he does have a desire to invest in that stability that we explored earlier. Recognizing, this challenge, I think it's going to help both of you together to create a more balanced, harmonious connection. Even just to speak about those struggles is going to be super important. And I think it is also, this card asks you to consider how you can support him in finding that balance and that harmony. The feminine energy, again, really going to support him at this time. So being able to provide that nurturing presence, overwatch, I think is going to be very useful for him to sort of really stabilize himself, and ask if there are ways that you can create a more harmonious environment, or encourage him to practice patience, integration, maybe reflect on how your actions and support can really contribute to a more balanced, fulfilling relationship as well, and help smooth the ride out a little bit, I could say. And just also remember that everything flows in cycles, and that there are natural sort of rhythms to life. So temperance really embodies this principle by showing that it's important to balance harmony and navigating these cycles. Okay, so as you reflect on the challenges here, remember that finding balance and harmony is a sort of continuous process. So it requires patience, it requires understanding, and so I think there is a message there, that patience is going to be the guiding factor, we could say, for him to be able to sort of navigate this internally chaotic experience, we could say, that he's having. I think that's accurate. Also, let us see what he most values about this connection. What does he most value about this connection? And this is harking back to that root card, that anchor card that we had earlier with the King of Wands. With the Knight of Wands, the King of Wands. What does he most value about the relationship? Well, here we have leadership, right? We also have vision, but we have passion, as we said earlier with the Knight of Wands. There's that passion. He really admires that in the relationship, that it exists, and in the context of what he values the most in the relationship. I think this card suggests that he highly values that dynamic energy, mutual ambition, shared sort of vision. Okay, so that shared vision, because this card represents vision, is going to be crucial for navigating the instability, we could say, that's coming from his internal landscape. And that shared vision, it's going to bring a sense of partnership, a sense of doing things together, heading in a mutually agreeable direction. And I think he also appreciates the inspiration, enthusiasm, the sense of purpose that you contribute to the relationship. There's lots of meaning in there. He values the dynamic energy. He really, I think, appreciates that as well. The passion that the relationship has as its core. And I think this is what really strengthens the bond between you. And I think this is the sort of influence it has on the relationship. And so knowing that he values your shared vision, your passion, can help both of you to focus on the common goals, support each other in your individual pursuits as well. And this mutual sort of admiration, I think, is going to create a strong foundation. All right. And the King of Wands also asks us here if it's asking you in particular, I think, to consider how you can continue to cultivate and nurture the qualities of leadership, vision, passion in the relationship, and support, right? That mother sort of nurturing energy that we had there. Not to say that you should mother him. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that the softer, tender side, when it comes to him expressing his emotions, holding that space, not with non-judgment, unconditional love kind of energy. That's all mother archetype energies, but not to mother him. And I think he has a very much independent sort of desire to create the stability for both of you, for the relationship. So, I don't think there's any danger of a sort of mothering energy creeping in there as a shadow aspect of the connection. And so, just remember again that everything is constant motion. Energies, enthusiasm influence our experiences. So King of Wands embodies this principle really by showing the importance of maintaining the sort of high energy, enthusiasm, shaping the relationship. That's at the core of this connection, is what I see as a strong, vibrant, passionate spirit. Okay, all right, so let us now kind of look at the similar or the same questions with yourself and your current thoughts about him. Let's explore where you're at. Nice. So there is you're thinking from the perspective of mutual respect, which is wonderful, and really contributing to this sort of harmonious thread that we've explored. And so I think you see him as someone who complements you perfectly, really, in many ways, really creating that harmonious and balanced partnership. I think the Two of Cups indicates that you value the emotional bond that you share and the sense of unity and togetherness in the relationship. You think of him as a partner, which whom you can share the deepest feelings, with whom you have a strong and loving connection. And I feel like this thought pattern of yours is probably what's agitating his unfamiliarity to that terrain, and that's totally fine. Women often activate men into a spiritual awakening. That's part of the process often. And so, yeah, you think of him, as a cherished, significant partner. I think you value the deep emotional connections and mutual respect that define the relationship. This card is of mutual respect. That's the sort of archetype of this card. And the major arcana being the lovers as well. So there's a deep emotional, romantic connection and devotion here as well. I think you feel like you complement each other well, and yeah, I think that there's that mutual respect is going to carry through the other activities and the strengthen the bond really well. And I think the Two of Cups also ask you to consider how you can continue to nurture, how can you strengthen the emotional connection even more, and sort of the harmony within the relationship. Are there any ways that you can show appreciation and deepen your bond with him? Maybe reflect on how your thoughts and actions can contribute to maintaining, enhancing the harmony and mutual respect in the relationship. I think that's that's what's coming through for me, where you're at right now in terms of your thoughts of the connection. Let us have a look, explore now at the feelings, the internal landscape. Okay, so Two of Wands. So again, this sense of vision is really coming through here. Okay, and really looking ahead with this sort of optimistic, strategic sort of approach. And also, I think, in terms of your feelings here, we're looking at some serious, important decision making, planning, really looking to the future. And I think this card suggests that you are in a phase of contemplating the future of the relationship. And you likely feel a sense of anticipation, excitement about the possibilities that lie ahead with him. I think there's a nice, exciting passion. Again, is that might be actually what's being picked up by him. And when we speak about passion, is the excitement coming from you having this future vision for the connection, this very close bond, nurturing, self-respecting, stable relationship into the future, creating a passion in the present. So maybe this feeling a strong sense of potential and possibility, I guess, when it comes to the relationship with him. And the Two of Wands indicates that you're considering long-term goals and how it fits into your vision for the future. Your feelings are rooted in that sort of desire to explore and expand the connection, and you're eager to see where this partnership can go. There's a real sense of anticipation, excitement about the future with him, and those long-term goals. So yeah, it's great. I think the Two of Wands also, it's asking to consider how you can sort of align your visions for the future with his, and are there any ways that you can communicate your goals, aspirations, to ensure that you both on the same page. Reflect on how your feelings of anticipation, excitement, can be sort of channeled constructively in towards maybe planning, decision making, vision, articulating the vision, etc., etc. So this, I would suggest that you don't want it to be too much of an internalized process to sort of run away with your imagination and never share that. He's probably picking up on the vibe of excitement in your words and actions and deeds, but I think it's worthwhile really expressing your vision, right? Share that vision, and I think that's going to put things at ease for him as well, for sure. In terms of like your intentions for this relationship, I think we've already begun to explore and touch on that, and no surprise, the lovers, and that's that beautiful bond and that deep connection, that commitment. And so, there are patterns emerging in this spread right now with the Temperance, the red wings of the Two of Cups, and the red wings of the lover. This sort of protective overwatch, this secure, angelic, divine union that is sort of blessed by the angels, as it were. soaring above, rising, elevating, lifting, all of those sort of symbolic patterns emerging here. And it's no different with the intentions that you currently hold, with this card representing love, harmony, and choices as well. And in the context of your intentions towards them, I think this card suggests that you are committed to building that deep, loving, and harmonious relationship. And I think you intend to make choices that support and nurture the bond that you share, aiming for that partnership based on mutual respect, as we explored earlier, that trust, that genuine affection, and a sense of balance and harmony. And it's wonderful. And I think your intentions to build that harmonious relationship will create strong foundations for the partnership. It's going into this union with those intentions are the firm sort of grounding building blocks, if you will, of any good connection, any good relationship. And if you prioritize mutual respect and understanding, you're going to foster that supportive and nurturing environment that we spoke about here, that is going to be so important for him and his development. And I think they're also asking you to consider how you can continue to make choices that support the harmony and the balance of the relationship. And when I see the Two of Cups, I see the representation here of this third thing that sort of emerges in the intertwining of the two self-respecting individuals coming in together, mutually supportive. It creates a third emergent property, and that is the relationship itself. And being in service to a higher order dimension of something, of some kind, is very, very stabilizing for the human psyche, for our emotions, and for our health overall. Being in service to that higher order of something creates an inordinate amount of perpetual energy, we could say. And I think that this passion can be maintained if we're in service to that, noble, healthy relationship, based on mutual respect and that harmony. And that's really what we're talking about here, is it creating that sort of stability, consistency over time. And I think it's got all the settings here for that long-term relationship. And I feel is a very, very positive. Okay. And just remember that everything in the universe, we're using the principle of gender here, the Hermetic principle. Everything is born has both masculine and feminine aspects, and that balance is found in the integration of these polarities. Okay, and the lovers embody this principle by showing us the importance of harmonious relationships, mutual respect. And so as you reflect on your intentions towards him, just remember that your actions and your choices should aim always to create that balance and loving partnership. Okay, all right, so let us look now at the challenges, your challenges in this connection at this time. What are some of the challenges that you're facing? Okay, all right, so we have the Six of Wands. And so in the context of some of the challenges that you may be facing in the relationship could be revolving around recognition. And in the context, really, what I mean by that is that it suggests that you may struggle with issues related to that, to validation or recognition, and you might feel that your efforts and contributions to the relationship are not fully acknowledged or appreciated at this time. So it's like an undercurrent of a feeling that you could be facing here. And I think the challenge lies in feeling validated, recognized by your efforts. It's you do crave a little bit of acknowledgement, according to this card, and appreciation from your partner, and there's nothing wrong with that. And when this is lacking, I think it can lead to feelings of frustration, sometimes a little bit of inadequacy, maybe, when you may struggle with wanting to be seen and valued for your contributions and successes with the partnership. And so, there's asking you to consider here, how can you communicate your need for recognition and validation in a sort of constructive way? And, just to know that one of the poisons that appears in relationships sometimes is resentment. And in order for resentment to really grow, we have the building blocks of expectations or expressed expectations. And when we have enough unexpressed expectations that are not met, then resentment builds as a consequence. And so, if you feel like you want to be acknowledged for the contributions that you're making to the union, to the relationship, to the connection. If you feel that, I would strongly advise sharing that and really putting that out there. And if you continue not to be, then that's a whole different discussion. That's a whole different topic. But I feel like this undercurrent is you'd do well to sort of express that. And so this may be the one sort of thing that may be agitating you or creating some kind of blockage at the moment in the connection. All right. So yeah, I would say that definitely that needs to be voiced at this time. Okay. Right. Let's see a potential outcome and sort of advice from the relationship. In just a moment, we're going to seek some divine oracle guidance and advice. But before that, let me see if there's something else that you want to be aware of. What is something that you want to be aware of that would do you well to be aware of in the connection? And we have the Emperor. And so the Emperor representing here authority, structure, stability, but in the context of something to be aware of in the relationship, I think this card suggests that there might be issues related to control, rigidity, or maybe the need for sort of clear boundaries and structure. And it indicates the importance of balancing authority with flexibility within this partnership. And I think it signifies that structure, that sort of stability in the relationship. While these qualities, they can provide solid foundations for sure, I think there is a potential for them to become overly rigid or controlling. And I think it's important to be aware of any sort of tendencies towards domination or inflexibility that could hinder the sort of natural flow of the harmony of the relationship. And I would say that so long as, you both are in service to that higher order, that shouldn't be too much of a problem, because often control comes from people's fears, needing to control things. So bear in mind that could be something that's an undercurrent and a potential tripping hazard, we could say, within the connection that has to be aware of. So flexibility is going to be important. But I think both of you need to navigate each of those conversations whenever there's a sense of tension, or when an unneed met, or maybe there's some fears that are creeping into the relationship, and the knee-jerk reaction is to go into a controlling or dominating. So if someone's dominating the conversations, not really wanting to listen to the other person, then that's a red flag to stop and sort of have a heartfelt conversation with mutual respect, because that's what's going to serve the high order of the relationship. If that's done by both of you, then it's going to be no problem at all, and that'll be a wonderful foundation to build on. But if it's just one person doing that, there is an imbalance, and that is not going to serve the connection well. All right, so just bear that in mind, I think, as something to be aware of. All right, and what I want to do now is turn to the Oracle card and receive some insights from the Divine Oracle. And today we have my Bago, the Warrior Saint. And this message really is rooted in a sense of courage and determination in the context of the message. I think the main message here is standing up for what is right, really demonstrating courage in the face of adversity, maintaining a strong moral compass. And, you both come into this connection with your own sort of righteousness in a way, your own value system, belief structures, etc., and what you value deeply, and compromising that, I think, is going to be problematic. I don't think that's going to serve either of you. So I think it really is about having the courage of your integrity, courage of your conviction and your integrity, to communicate your needs and your desires and your vision and what you find powerful, and the same for him. If you can both do that, it's like you're mutually kind of sharing each other's sort of desires, needs, and wants, etc. And really have the courage to speak that out loud. Often people repress their needs and wants, and it doesn't serve them. It really doesn't, because like I said, then those unexpressed expectations will become resentments later, and that is a real poison that rots from within, and it's not healthy at all. So the warrior saint here, she's a warrior of love, but she has that sort of devotion and that real sort of commitment to have the courage of her conviction, stands by her word, and she values her word because she has the word represented here as the sword, the truth, we can say, holding above everything is the truth. So integrity is everything to this oracle, and the message coming through is never ever compromise on your integrity and your truth. And so on that, I'd love you to go ahead and drop a sword into the comments if you're claiming that, if you're claiming your truth, claiming the courage to express your truth in this connection. And if you do so, I think this will encourage them to do so also. And I think that is really going to serve the relationship to be able to create that third emergent union that is so powerful and often quite rare out there. So if you can find somebody to co-create that with, then seize it with both hands, with an open heart, with curiosity, with the passion that's been expressed throughout the reading here today. And I wish you all the best of luck and love in that endeavor. I've been Maverick Mystic. This has been exciting and passionate. I hope it serves you. Thank you for trusting me. And until next time, take care. Hello and welcome in, dear one, card number 2. All right, so let us begin. So his current thoughts, current feelings about you, his perspectives, and what's going on internally for him. All right, so let's start with him. We're going to go straight into that. As the title of this reading suggests, it's him versus you. So let's go for him, where he's at right now and his current thoughts about you. And this anchor card is going to be what sets the tone for this card. And if this resonates, then this is the card for you. If not, I'd love you to go ahead and choose a different card. Okay, so we have the Eight of Swords. And so with the Eight of Swords, this card represents, feelings of restriction, limitation, some sort of mental entrapment of some kind. So when it comes to his current thoughts about you, I think this card suggests that he may be feeling a little trapped or confused by his own thoughts, maybe regarding the relationship itself. So he could be experiencing a sense of being a little overwhelmed by his thoughts, maybe leading to a little bit of a mental state where he feels a little stuck or unsure about how to sort of proceed. And this card indicates that he might see the relationship as something that is maybe a little challenging, complicated, maybe some obstacles there, and he may be struggling to find a clear path forward. He could be feeling uncertain about how to sort of express his feelings also here, or communicate his concerns, maybe leading to a sense of frustration, a sense of helplessness. This card also ask you to sort of consider how his feelings of mental entrapment might be influencing his behavior towards you. Maybe his sense of being trapped or confused can lead to sort of actions that are cautious. Maybe he's been a little bit reserved or even a little avoidant, and he might withdraw or seem a little distant because he feels unsure how to sort of address the issues that he's perceiving. Reflect on how these feelings of restriction, they might be affecting the sort of willingness to engage openly in the relationship at this time. I think it's important to recognize that this mental barrier, it's often self-imposed, is what the theme of this card is, self-imposed limitations, and helping him to sort of see this, it could facilitate a more open and honest communication between you. It's a case of kind of getting it out into the light, I feel, at the moment. His feelings of restriction and mental entrapment, they can create a sort of sense of a barrier, to effective communication and intimacy in the relationship. So, this sense of being stuck can lead to those misunderstandings, the sort of emotional distance, and he may struggle to express his true feelings and concerns at this time. So it's crucial to approach this situation, I think, with empathy and patience, and sort of encouraging the sort of environment where he feels safe to share his thoughts without fear of judgment, and understanding the sort of root of his mental struggles. You can work together to break down these barriers, foster that sort of deeper connection, and helping him to see that these perceived limitations are not insurmountable. They can be, key to moving forward and creating a more open, trusting dynamic in the relationship. And I think it's essential that it gets voiced. But just to get an insight really of where his mind is at right now. And again, this is not necessarily anything that you've done or anything. This is, I think, a personal expression of his. Now, for the feeling aspect of things, okay, how is he feeling about you, towards you in the relationship? This card representing tradition, commitment, also spiritual guidance. In the context of his current feelings about you, this card suggests that he feels a deep sense of respect, I would say, and admiration for you, valuing the sort of traditional aspects and the deeper meaning of the relationship. He may also see you as somebody who brings stability to the relationship. And I think there is there's wisdom in that, and I think he has a sense of sort of a higher purpose that comes from being in connection with you in a way. There's that sort of spiritual element to it, and I think the Hierophant indicates that he is looking for a relationship that aligns with his core values and beliefs, and one that offers a strong foundation, a sense of spirituality and emotional connection, and I think he likely feels a sense of reverence towards you, appreciating your role in providing guidance, support, and a sense of order in his life. I think this card suggests that he sees the relationship as more than just a romantic connection. I think he views it as a real meaningful partnership that aligns with his long-term goals and his aspirations. And I think the Hierophant here is also, asking you to maybe consider how his appreciation for tradition, his commitment, might influence his behaviors towards you. He may be more inclined to seek stability, some long-term security within the relationship, really valuing sort of rituals, routines, shared values that bring a sense of continuity and harmony. I think, reflect on how his desire for tradition is, committed relationship really shapes his actions and his decisions, right? I think that's at the core of who he is. He might prioritize activities that strengthen your bond and create a sense of shared purpose, viewing these efforts as sort of integral to the relationship success. So understanding his appreciation for these elements, I think, can help you connect on a deeper level and, align your efforts towards building a stable, meaningful partnership, we could say. I think his feelings of respect and admiration also, for the sort of traditional aspects, offer the relationship a sense of stability and security between you. I think by valuing the commitment and the shared values, I think it helps to create a foundation upon which, you can build lasting partnerships, even if it's just a respect for the institution of marriage, for example, as a sort of traditional structure of coming into union. I think he values that and he respects that. And this appreciation for structure and tradition can also encourage that mutual respect and understanding, as both of you sort of recognize the importance of these elements. So let us now turn to his intentions. So what are his intentions towards you, towards the relationship at this time? And the moon. Interesting. Okay, so, well, I think this really ties back to the initial card that we thought around his thoughts and where he's at right now, because, with this card, we have intuition, mystery, and the subconscious. And I think when it comes to his intentions towards you, this card suggests that his plans, his desires, they may be sort of shrouded in a little bit of uncertainty or confusion. He might be dealing with some hidden fears or unresolved issues that are affecting his ability to move forward with that clear, confident intentions at this time. And I think that's coming from that initial exploration that we had about that sort of limited mental state and patterns of belief, limiting beliefs, etc. And the moon indicates that his intentions are not fully sort of illuminated at this time, I would say. And he may be sort of grappling with doubts or some subconscious influences that make it difficult for him to really articulate or act upon his true desires. So he may feel a little bit drawn to you in a sort of deep, almost inexplicable way. But there is a sense of sort of ambiguity or complexity in his feelings and intentions. And I think the moon's sort of asking of you here as well to consider how his sort of hidden fears, uncertainties might be influencing his intentions towards you. Maybe he could be struggling with internal conflicts or past experiences that sort of cast a shadow over his current intentions. Maybe reflect on how these subconscious influences might be causing him to hesitate or act in ways that are not fully aligned with his true feelings. So understanding that his intentions are influenced by the deeper, often hidden factors can help to sort of approach the situation with a bit of empathy, a bit of patience. It may be beneficial to create a safe space where he feels, comfortable expressing the sort of deeper emotions without fear of judgment or rejection. And his intentions, I think, influenced by the sort of mysteries and uncertainties of the moon here, I think can create a sense of unpredictability in the relationship. So you might find it challenging. You might find it challenging to sort of understand his true motives or to sort of predict his actions, which can lead to feelings of insecurity, maybe a little bit of confusion. So it's important to really recognize that these intentions are not necessarily negative. They are just simply, they're not fully clear or understood at this stage, is what I'm getting from the moon here. By really fostering open communication, really encouraging him to explore those deeper feelings, fears, it can help to bring clarity to his intentions and strengthen the bond between you. So I think this process is going to require patience and willingness to navigate through the unknown together, but it can ultimately lead to a deeper, more authentic connection in the long term. All right, so his particular challenges in the relationship are born out of this sort of restrictive mental attitude potentially, but in other ways, in other challenges that he may be facing in the relationship is marked by the Fool. So these are other challenges that he finds in the relationship. And so for me, what we're exploring here, I think, is a real tension going on internally for him. I see his sort of desire to have that sort of stability, traditions, and values, but I also see this pulling towards this spontaneity, a sense of adventure. And I think in the context of challenges within the relationship, I think this card suggests that he may struggle with issues related to commitment and stability in juxtaposition to this. So I think this confusion is being manifested here again, represented by the Fool, in that he might have a tendency to act impulsively or to seek constant novelty and excitement, which can make it difficult for him to settle into a more structured and predictable relationship and a relational dynamic. I think the Fool indicates that he may be, grappling with fear of the unknown or reluctance to sort of take responsibilities that come with a deeper commitment. So there's a little bit of bumpy, it's a little bit of tumultuous kind of energies going on with it, with a sort of pulling and throwing. And I think it's asking also of you to consider how his desire for that spontaneity, that adventure, might be sort of influencing his behavior in the relationship. I think his challenge lies in really balancing his need for freedom and excitement with the need for stability and consistency, because they're both present. And I think this is the core of the confusion. I think reflect on his reluctance to sort of commit his impulsive actions. I think it might create uncertainty and instability in the relationship, as I said. So understanding his desires for new experiences and his fear of the unknown can help to sort of approach these challenges with empathy, with patience. I think highlighting it as a possible dynamic will help you will prepare you for those conversations with that nuance. I think his challenges really related to that spontaneity and commitment can lead to a sense of unpredictability in the relationship. So you might feel uncertain about his level of commitment or find it difficult to plan for the future. So this can really create tension and misunderstandings, as his actions, they may seem sort of inconsistent or impulsive. I think to address these challenges, it's important to find that balance between allowing space for spontaneity and ensuring that there is a foundation of trust and stability. So really, by acknowledging his need for adventure and finding ways to integrate it into the relationship, you can create that dynamic that sort of satisfies both his desires for excitement and your need for security, but also his desire for security and stability as well. And this approach can help to foster a more sort of harmonious and fulfilling relationship where both parties feel, understood and valued. But generally, what I'm picking up from him is I got this sense of hyperactive sort of nervous system response to something that's happened in the past. Is a kind of, on edge. He's kind of edgy at the moment, and I feel that he both wants the stability, but at the same time he's scared of committing to that. He wants to be free and spontaneous, but also values the stability and predictability of a healthy union. So quite a challenging mix that I'm picking up there for him. So let us turn our attention now to, well, actually, before we do that, let us see what he values most about the collection, about the relationship between you two. What does he value the most? Yeah, that okay. So that makes sense to me. The sense of wholeness that he sees in the union as a potential. So that sense of being complete, that sense of fulfillment that the relationship brings to his life. I think he values the feeling of being part of something greater, where both partners are sort of contributing to that harmonious, balanced union. That is something that he really does admire, and I think that's his true self speaking there. Most of this is dynamic is based. The confusion is based on fear, and this is the represented here with the moon. Okay, so that he does have a fear, and it could be an irrational fear. It could be a fear as a response of what's happened to his past. So there's that instability there a little bit, but ultimately this is something that's guiding his higher self and desire for this sort of sense of wholeness, indicating that he sees the relationship as a source of profound, satisfaction and a culmination of his desires for that meaningful, lasting connection. So, you know, consider also, how the relationship provides a sense of wholeness and fulfillment for both of you, not just him. The appreciation for the completeness that the relationship brings reflects, I think, his desire for a partnership that feels well rounded, enriching. Reflect on how the relationship contributes to your sort of mutual growth and fulfillment. How can you contribute to nurture the sense of wholeness, right? And really understand that the values that the relationship is, as a source of sort of profound satisfaction, it can help both of you to focus on maintaining that balance, fostering that mutual growth and contentment. The container of a relationship is very powerful. It's a very spiritual experience. It can be, has the potential for sure, for all parties involved, if both commit to that harmony and that balance, with respect for each other. And so, look, he values the relationship as a source of wholeness and fulfillment that create strong foundations for your partnership. And by recognizing, appreciating the sense of completeness that the relationship brings, I think you can both work towards really maintaining that harmonious balance and connection. This appreciation can lead to that deeper commitment, that supporting each other's growth, and happiness, and knowing that your partner is a key element in achieving the sense of fulfillment. So really focus on the positive aspects that the relationship brings to both of your lives. And I think you can strengthen the bond and continue to build a relationship that is enriching, deeply satisfying. And look, every relationship has its challenges and nuance and particular things. And it's just a case of understanding them, shining the light, being honest, and respecting each other as you navigate through that, really. Okay, so let us now explore yourself and the thought patterns that are inhabiting your consciousness and your awareness at the moment, what you spend most of the time thinking about in terms of the connection. And it's wonderful. You have the Ten of Cups. And so, as far as you're concerned, you're perceiving the relationship as fulfilling, it's happy, it's harmonious. And in the context of your current thoughts about him, I think this card suggests that you see him as a source of deep joy and real emotional satisfaction. And you likely view the relationship as one that has sort of the potential to bring lasting happiness and contentment. There is a commitment to this. And it indicates that you think of him as someone who can help create that loving, supportive family environment, and you feel a sense of completeness when you envisage the future. Also consider how your vision of like emotional fulfillment and happiness with him influences your thoughts and your actions in the relationship. How is that influencing him? What sort of impact is that having on him? And remember that there is a limiting belief somewhere in here, and it could be along the lines of inadequacy around receiving love and affection that you express to him. He may not know how to fully receive that. There could be some traumatic experience in there that's preventing him at the moment from fully receiving that. But so just awareness. We cannot be more. There's nothing wrong with being aware of our actions and our intentions and how they affect those around us, as well as the sort of future and the outcome and the direction of the relationship. So just shedding light here. That's all we're trying to do. Okay. So, your thoughts are likely centered around creating that harmonious, loving partnership that brings, joy to both of you. Reflect on how this really does shape your expectations, and just remember that the expectations that are not voiced are the building blocks of resentments. So, if you have certain expectations and you don't voice them, be careful, because they can really begin to build the future resentments that come into the dynamics. So make sure that you're being very transparent, very clear about your expectations of this union that you envisage in your mind. You have a clear vision of it by the looks of it, and so just be mindful and share that with them. Okay, share that with them as something that you desire at this time. All right, so let's now explore the feelings. Okay, this is the internal emotional connection that you have in relation to the relationship. Okay, so it's a very passionate, fast flowing Eight of Wands. And so, this movement, this progress, and also communication here. So in the context of the current feelings about him, this card suggests that you feel a strong sense of excitement and a sort of urgency in the relationship as well. You may feel that things are sort of moving quickly and that there's a lot of sort of positive momentum. And the Eight of Wands really indicates that you are sort of eager to see progress. You're enthusiastic about the direction in which the relationship is heading. But do consider how your feelings of excitement, that sense of urgency might be influencing your actions and decisions, in relationship to him. You're likely, you feel energized and motivated by the rapid progress you're experiencing together. But reflect on how this sense of momentum, shapes your interactions and plans for the future, and just the effect that it may have on him. While it's important to really enjoy the excitement, it's also crucial to ensure that both partners are comfortable with the pace and the direction of the relationship. So, really understanding your feelings can help to sort of balance enthusiasm with a thoughtful consideration for each other's needs and desires at this time. So just bear that in mind, right? Bear that in the rush that you currently experience in the emotional space, and the sort of fast moving development of the relationship and its effects, okay, that may be causing a little bit of instability in his system. They can bring a dynamic and invigorating energy also to the connection. So there's that as well to consider. And I think this enthusiasm can really help propel both of you forward, really encouraging that open communication, the active pursuit of shared goals. It's development, right? So the energy here is that you're wanting it to develop, and but it is important to remain mindful at the pace of things and the progress to avoid that potential, misunderstandings or feelings of being overwhelmed. So fostering that environment of open dialogue is going to be crucial, I think, for you both, and mutual agreement in the pace, but also the direction. Okay. Now we haven't had a star in here yet, but I dare say now that I've invoked it, we may. But essentially, the sense of direction. Whenever there's a star, that's the reminder. Is to see, well, do you know where you're going, right? Is there a sense of direction in the relationship, in the union? Do you share those values together? And etc. So let us now explore your intentions towards him. Okay, so another wand, and your intentions at the moment towards him with the Ace of Wands. With this card, we're looking at the desire to sort of infuse the relationship with creativity and passion, influencing your actions and decisions at this time. And I think you likely are motivated to initiate new projects, new experiences, shared activities that bring sort of excitement and joy for both of your lives. So it seems like you're initiating a lot of those things. Remember, there's this element of that inward, restriction and fear, and so wanting to inject that newness into the connection is something that's being expressed here. There's I think you intend to ignite that passion and that spark and enthusiasm, really fostering that dynamic, exciting connection here. The Ace of Wands indicates that you're also committed to pursuing new opportunities and adventures together, focusing on that growth, on that exploration. Okay, and there's a sense that you're leading it and you're leading the way in that regard. Is the vibe I'm kind of picking up here. Okay, so you're quite motivated, I feel, to sort of initiate new projects and experiences Just reflect on how these intentions can create that vibrant, dynamic relationship, shape your and can shape the sort of nurturing of this connection. But also understand that if you aim to inspire and energize the partnership, communicate your vision is what I keep sensing here, and sort of collaborate to bring new ideas and adventures into life. Um, be mindful of sort of dictating from above. This is what's going to happen. More about be inspiring to sort of say, hey, what about this? Have you thought? What do you think of this? Do you think we should try this new thing? I think it'd be quite exciting. It's that kind of thing. It's a collaborative, endeavor after all. Okay. But just throughout the whole thing, maintain that open communication, encouraging each other's creative endeavors as well. You can build a relationship that is not only passionate but also deeply fulfilling, and continues to evolve. Okay, continues to evolve. All right, so let us look at the challenges. No, actually, yeah, let's look at the challenges that are present in the connection. All right, let's have a look at this at the moment. All right, so we have the Eight of Pentacles. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is a lone figure, diligently working hard, staying enthusiastic, mastering their craft, committing, right? But there's hard work and effort, invoked here. But I only see a single figure, and I think that in the context of the challenges in the relationship, to me, this card suggests that you may be struggling with issues related to that effort and that commitment, and you might find it challenging to sort of balance the sort of shared responsibility of really crafting the relationship together. So you may find yourself in that leadership role, putting in the effort and the hard work, and they may be pulling back a little bit at this time. And I think that this may be the dynamics associated with that here as a challenge, within the relationship. Maybe you're kind of dabbing your brow a little bit, saying, I'm working quite hard here, and there may not be that may not be a balanced thing as it stands. And I think this could be a little bit of a challenge. Your passion, your enthusiasm, you're driving new ideas forth, and they're having to sort of deal with some of the internal complexities around their emotions, their fears, their insecurities. So it's a very different kind of internal experience for the both of you. And so, there is a real call here on the nurturing feminine energy to sort of grace your connection in order to facilitate, that evolution and that integration and healing for this person, I would say. And, ultimately, if you're feeling overwhelmed or unable to sort of invest the necessary time and energy, or you feel a little burnt out, with the sort of feelings of neglect or imbalance within the partnership, I think this can create that tension, that misunderstanding. So, you might just, addressing these challenges involves really open communication. Really, again, I cannot emphasize this enough, to articulate both of your expectations and the vision for the connection. All right. We are yet again to see the star. So for me, it's more about not so much the vision yet, okay, and where the direction of the relationship's going. It's more about the groundwork of the healing and approaching wholeness, which we know this to be a desire of his, okay? So really approach wholeness first, and then one can begin to articulate that vision. But really it goes in this sequence. It's about peace, power, and purpose. One has to be at peace with themselves. So doing the inside work, the inner work, the shadow work to arrive at a place that approximates peace, and at least being on your own side and your own friend and not against you, not self-sabotaging, etc. That's the first step in this journey. And then we can begin to empower ourselves with the language, with positivity, and dialogues, and how we speak to ourselves and those around us. And once we have that in place, and we feel like we're in a union in terms of relationship here, then we can begin to articulate the purpose and the why and the vision for the relationship. So I'm not surprised that the star hasn't quite appeared yet, if it will at all, as that guiding factor. So there's some groundwork and some stability to be done, I feel, at this time. Okay, all right. So let us turn now to something to be aware of beyond the challenges, just something to be aware of within the connection, all right? Something to be aware of that would be very useful for you both to know about the relationship. Okay, so we have the Five of Swords. Yeah, and for me, this really, no surprise, sword on swords here. The nuance of what we're talking about here, some of the mental trappings that are maybe occurring for him, the nuance is that, this card represents betrayal. So I think deep down there has been a betrayal that is causing the instability in his system. And, an abandonment, someone turning their back on him, there's some sort of wound there. And I think for them, the work is really sort of addressing that and the residual sort of limiting beliefs that have been picked up, the survival traits that have been picked up as a consequence of that experience, for it not to bleed into the relationship, because ultimately this union has a potential, wonderful potential here to be a very balanced, harmonious, passionate, abundant, joyous connection. And there is the work to be done, as there is in every union and every connection, of course. And as I said, relationships are a wonderful portal for spiritual growth and development. And so, but we're just getting the sort of colors and the flavors of it here. Being aware of that sort of potential for conflict as well that can emerge from these unintegrated parts. And so, this will influence the relationship one way or another. Okay. And it's also really a reminder to really deal with conflicts, because there's always going to be conflicts in relationships. That's just the way it is. But how we deal with them is going to be absolutely crucial. So if you both come to those conflicting positions in the relationship and situations, do it with love, do it with self-respect, do it with mutual support. At least, let the North Star of those particular conflicts be coming and returning back to love. And you may not feel that, and in the body we may not feel that love in those moments of conflict, but ultimately let that be the place that you're orientating back to. Be gentle with each other, okay? And really, I would say just be mindful of each other's wounds and histories and stories. And I want to see if I can draw a North Star. No, we've got an Ace of Cups, all right? And it's just an added layer, okay? I think that on the back of that work, dealing with that betrayal, there is the potential for new emotional wellspring. And I think this new emotion, is just on the horizon, in particular for him. I think you're going to facilitate with compassion him experiencing emotions that he may never have experienced, in the sense of feeling like he's enough, feeling like he is loved, feeling like he's not alone, right? These core sort of distortions of truth that occur in life. And I think they are going to invoke a lot of sadness, a lot of grieving for sure, as we realize, the time wasted, or whatever the details are of that grieving. But there will be a little bit of that. But I think this is going to be so healing. And I think the prospects here are wonderful for the healing to occur within the container of this union, okay? And so I want to leave you with a final message from the Divine Feminine Oracle. And we have Sekhmet, the Red Lady. I am pure strength. I honor my anger by giving voice to it. Wonderful. So really, again, this for me is a reminder. When we talk about anger, that is one of the three core emotions or root emotions: fear, anger, and jealousy. These are very base emotions. These are low vibration, but they are almost connected to our animal instincts as well, and therefore our survival instincts. And so no emotion is good or bad. They are all energy in motion, and our relationship to them is super important, and our interpretation of them has to be carefully understood and navigated, because if we start making them mean negative things about us, just because we're feeling angry doesn't mean we're a bad person, right? For example. And so, here it says, I honor my anger by giving voice to it. And it's a reminder that as anger emerges, because there can be some frustrating times here. Look, if we're looking at betrayal, if we're looking at those limiting beliefs that have kept him trapped for some time, there's going to be some trapped energies in the form of anger that are there. And giving it voice is essentially vibrating that anger up into the chest, into the throat, and out, expressing it. That is a wonderful way to move and transmute that energy. And I think that is what's being called for here. So this reading for me has been very interesting, very nuanced in terms of the groundwork that has to be done in the area of peace, inner peace. And I think you are wonderfully positioned to support him at this time, should you wish to do so. It's not your duty. You don't have to do that. It's not your job to heal anyone, okay? But it's his responsibility to heal. But we can facilitate spaces of awareness. We can facilitate environments of nurturing, of love, of tenderness, of clear communication and expression. And within those safe, loving environments, that person can choose to step into it and use that to develop or not. That's obviously, we have the willpower to do so, each and every one of us. But look, if this has resonated for you, why don't we go ahead and drop let's go for it. Let's drop a star. We didn't get it in the reading, but let's drop a star into the comments to let me know that you're claiming this, to let me know that this has resonated for you and you found it valuable, insightful, impactful, or just enjoyed the journey that we've gone on here. Let us know in the comments. I love reading your comments. I really appreciate you. And look, I'm not for everyone. I don't expect to resonate with everyone, and that's fine also. I hold you all in love and appreciation and hope that the light reaches you in any way that it does. If it agitates, anger, or if there is any kind of response, then that's also valid and wonderful, and I appreciate it all. And so, as always, thank you for trusting me, Maverick Mystic, in this reading. I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to doing it again soon. Take care. Okay, welcome in card number 3 to this, your reading. It's you versus him, and we're going to be exploring the thoughts, the feelings, the connections, the undercurrents of this union, and really sort of uncovering some possibilities, maybe some blockages, some ways to sort of move past them, healing, integration, vision, future, and all areas in between. All right, so join me in exploring this card here now. So it represents foresight, exploration, and the anticipation of future opportunities. It's a very positive card. It's the merchant here admiring his fleet and thinking about the future and sort of almost in a strategic way as well. And it's in the context of the current thoughts about you. Okay, so this card to me suggests that he is seeing a future with you and is contemplating the potential for growth and expansion of the relationship itself. He is likely thinking about the possibilities that lie ahead and is eager to sort of explore what the future holds for both of you. Being that it's a wands, there's a lot of passion in this as well. So he's got some, rather active sort of mental activity focused in this direction. And this card also asks you to sort of consider how his thoughts about the future and the potential for the growth of the relationship, how are they influencing his actions at the moment and his decisions? What types of actions and decisions is he making? Does that make more sense now that you've heard that, right? So he's likely filled with a sense of optimism and anticipation, probably viewing the relationship as a journey that sort of holds exciting prospects and opportunities. So reflect on how his forward-thinking mindset can, positively impact your connection. Understand that he is eager to explore and expand the relationship and can sort of help you align your goals as well and aspirations with his, and fostering that sort of shared vision of the future. So his thoughts of exploration, anticipation, they can bring a sense of excitement and momentum to the relationship, and this can create a real dynamic where both partners are really motivated to work towards those common goals and to really embrace new experiences together. I think his optimism and his optimistic outlook, we can say, can inspire both of you to take that proactive sort of steps towards building that fulfilling, adventurous partnership. However, it is important, I think, to ensure that these future-oriented thoughts, do not lead to sort of impatience or maybe neglect of the present moment as well. So really balancing his enthusiasm for the future with a mindful appreciation of the present moments can help to sort of create that harmonious and more grounded relationship. And by really nurturing both the present connections and sort of shared vision of the future, you can strengthen your bond and create that lasting, fulfilling partnership. So great potential, great opening of his mindset and where he's at. Okay, so let us now look at potential um, uh, insights around his emotional state. All right, so the star is emerging again, and this is congruent with this sort of forward-looking vision of with the star, but also with the star there's a real sense of hope with this card, okay, and inspiration and a sense of renewal as well. So, in the context of his current feelings about you, this card to me suggests that he feels a deep sense of optimism and possibility towards the relationship, and he likely sees you as a source of inspiration, and I think feels that the relationship has a bright and promising future. The star really indicates that he is filled with hope and is emotionally sort of rejuvenated, we could say, by your presence in his life. And I think he also asks you to consider how his feelings of hope and inspiration, what sort of effect is that having on his behavior towards you? How is that making you feel? He likely feels a sense of calm himself and reassurance when he thinks about the relationship, viewing it as sort of like a guiding light in his life. He has a lot of meaning associated with this connection, I feel. And so reflect on how his sort of positive emotions and sense of renewal can enhance your connection as well. Understand that he feels inspired, okay, and hopeful about the relationship, and I think that can help you to sort of appreciate the emotional significance you hold for him, encouraging you to foster that that positive energy in your interactions. Just something to be mindful of. This sort of congruence that he's showing here with his mind and his feelings. It's you probably feel that energy quite clearly. And I think his feelings of hope and inspiration can create the strong emotional foundations for this relationship. And this sense of optimism, I think, can encourage both of you to really invest in the relationship with confidence and really believe in the potential to bring joy and fulfillment. Okay, so very positive. I think it's a strong card. There's also an important aspect here of balance. I'd say with we see the aspect or the theme of balance sort of hinted at here with the two vases here with water in that it's important to reconcile idealism with practical steps towards building a stable realistic future together, right? So having a vision is great, but there has to be this sort of kind of methodical way of declaring how to get there as well. So by nurturing the sense of inspiration and hope while also addressing the practical needs and the goals, I think you can create a relationship that is both, emotionally fulfilling and grounded in reality as well. So this balanced approach, I think, can help to build a real lasting partnership that continually inspires and uplifts, both of you, right? So let us explore his intentions. Okay, so we have now the mind, the feelings. Let's have a look at his intentions and let's see how they align with those two previous cards. And it's the King of Pentacles is a very positive card here for this because it's also a congruence that it's thoughts, feelings, intentions. They're all really singing off the same hymn sheet here, I would say. And with this stability, there is abundance here. But there's also that practical approach. So I think that's the sort of encapsulating what I was just saying there about that harmonious balance. And I think he recognizes that as well, and he has all the intentions to be able to do that and to offer that balance and that security, dependability. In this is the approach that he's taking, I would say. I think this suggests that he is committed to creating that stable, secure foundation for the relationship, and he likely intends to provide a sense of reliability, support in some way, maybe financial, material, really ensuring that the relationship is built on that solid ground. So the King of Pentacles here indicating that he values practicality as well as focus on that long-term prosperity for growth and with the partnership as a union. And I think this card is also, it's asking you to consider his intentions, really providing a stability. How does that feel? How does that feel for you to have somebody that's willing to do that, wanting to do that, feels almost a duty and a service to that relationship, to the union? He likely views the relationship as an investment, and needs to be dedicated and needs to be nurtured with care and attention. Reflect on how this sort of practical, supportive nature can impact the connection. Understand that he is focused on creating a secure and abundant future together, and this can help align your efforts and goals with his, and will foster that mutual commitment. But yeah, check in with that. How does that feel? How does that feel to receive that level of support as well? Acknowledge that. And at the moment we haven't come across any swords indicating a real sort of need for clearing up communication, or a lack of clarity, or that sort of that nature of questioning. But I would suggest that throughout all of this there is going to be a continuous touching base regarding the future projection of where it's going and the ambitions. But we can now start to see a clearer picture of what is going on internally for him, what his thoughts, feelings, and intentions are for the relationship. And I think it's proving to be quite a reliable person, quite consistent, we could say, at this time. Let us now just shift gear a little bit and try to explore what some of his challenges are in the connection, what maybe some of his difficulties or challenges in the relationship. And we have the Seven of Swords, and the theme that I'm picking up here is well, it's deception, strategy, but also avoiding confrontation. Now, I said there are no swords, so far the communication seems clear, and then of course Seven of Swords appears. So in the context of his challenges in the relationship, I think this card suggests that he may struggle with issues related to honesty and openness. So for me, what's happening here is we've got an internal congruence going on, and at the very last minute, because it's okay having the thoughts and the framework, and then having those ideas come through, and then the feelings associated with it, and then we start to put the intentions into words, and then we have to act on our words. That's the full length and breadth of congruence that enables us to manifest our reality. And so we get to the point where we're about to speak the truth, and we come across the Seven of Swords. And so there are certain issues here about honesty, or maybe openness. And I think he might have a sort of tendency to avoid difficult conversations, or to handle conflict in a less than sort of straightforward manner. There's a bit of skirting around, avoidance, not wanting to have the hard conversations. And I think this is going to be one of his biggest challenges. It indicates that he finds it challenging to be fully transparent, or to address issues head on. So that can create a little bit of misunderstanding, some trust issues in there, and that'll be something that will have to be addressed. And so, consider how his tendency to avoid these confrontations, or to be less than fully honest, might influence the dynamic in the relationship, and to really be the truth, right? So if you want to see truth in someone, we've got to be that truth first. So that honesty with your expression, and we're going to explore some of your dynamics in a moment and how that plays into this as well. But there is reflect on whether there's been moments potentially where his actions or his words have seemed evasive or strategic, rather than sort of open and sincere. Also, judge the actions of somebody rather than what they say they're going to do. So if they're doing it and they say they're doing it, brilliant. There's that congruence. But if they're saying they're going to do something and something different actually happens, then this is an area to question. It's important to recognize that his behavior might be driven by fear as well, the fear of conflict, as we said there, and or maybe a desire to sort of protect himself or the relationship, even if it's sort of counterproductive to the long run. Okay, so just be mindful of these tendencies. Okay, his challenges with honesty and openness, they can create barriers to trust and intimacy in the relationship. So avoiding those difficult conversations, or being sort of evasive will lead to misunderstandings and a sense of sort of emotional distance. So I think to address this, it's crucial to create an environment where both of you feel safe to express their true feelings and concerns. Typically, this type of stuff is coming from a childhood learnt experience where they weren't safe. They didn't feel safe to communicate their truth because they were either punished, shunned, or not loved in some way. we're not shown the love, and so it creates these distortions. Okay, so really encouraging that open and honest, non-judgmental. Non-judgmental is key. Communication can help him feel more comfortable being transparent, addressing issues directly. Okay, yeah, it's important to allow him to sort of gently begin to express himself in these ways, and to repattern and relearn what it feels like in his body, in his nervous system, to be able to communicate his truths, and for not to not have those rubbed in his face or beaten over the head with, as we some of us experience in childhood. Okay, so there we go. Some of the challenges, and yeah. But let's see what he values most in the relationship. Okay, I want to also shift the gear back and see what it is that he values in the relationship. We know this is going to be his challenge, but what does he value in the relationship? And we have the King of Wands. So this is a very impassioned leadership card that we have. But in that leadership, I think what he admires a lot in this connection is this shared, passionate desire to create a vision for the union, for the relationship. And I think it suggests that deeply appreciates this dynamic energy that you both have, this mutual ambition, shared vision, and you both bring that to the relationship. And I think he really values that. He values the enthusiasm, but also the inspiration that he gets, and a sense of sort of purpose that you continue to bring in the relationship. And I think the King of Wands also indicates that he sees the relationship as a powerful, passionate union where both partners can lead, and both can inspire each other, support each other, and achieving the goals. Okay, so despite his resistances and his maybe some of his limiting beliefs and coping mechanisms, I think he does admire the qualities of leadership and vision and passion that are in the relationship. And I think these elements are going to play a role in the interactions that that you've had already and will have for sure. Yeah, he values that highly. I think his appreciation for this dynamic energy, his mutual ambition and relationship, it can create a strong, inspiring foundation. And this is going to lead to that partnership where both of you are really motivated to support each other, in particular when it comes to expressing, those parts of ourselves that we don't really normally want to. So by recognizing and valuing each other and each other's leadership and passion, I think you're going to create a powerful synergy here that really drives both of you towards your goals. And it's important to maintain really high quality communication throughout all of this. That is going to be fundamental here to really sort of navigate this well. Okay. All right. Let us now move to yourself and see where your mind is at. Where is your mind wandering to at the moment? What are you thinking about him? Wow. So the Sun, that innocent, joyous. So you're really seeing his authentic self, aren't you? You're really able to hold that in your mind and think about him in that way. This sort of innocent, joyous, full of potential, full of opportunity, very, very inspiring, very warming to be around. So really positive. And I think this card also, reflects back and asks you to sort of consider how your thoughts of joy and positivity about him, influence the actions and interactions within the relationship. You're probably, if you're carrying those thoughts, and we'll see in a minute if it's congruent with your emotions, your intentions, etc. But if those are your initial thoughts and the framework going into this, you're going to be radiating that out, and the vibrations of that are going to be felt by him. And that is exactly what is needed to illuminate some of the shadow aspects of him that he may not want to at the beginning. But I think, over time, this sort of real nurturing, compassionate, joyous aspect in which you hold him are really going to serve not just him, but the relationship as well. Okay, so yeah, I think thinking of him as a source of joy and positivity can create that real uplifting, encouraging dynamic in the relationship. And actually that is something that men really, really do appreciate, is just a kind word, a recognition. And oftentimes that's all we wanted as boys growing up, is to have that little word of encouragement every now and then, and that's all we would have needed. And so many men don't get that growing up, and it is a tragedy. So to be able to hold him in your mind like that as you are is absolutely wonderful, and a service not just to him, to your relationship, but to everyone. Okay, it's super important, and it's an abundant act as well to be able to do that, because it will be such a creative outpouring for him to want to grow and shine as brightly as you hold him in your mind. Feelings. What are the feelings about him at this time? Well, I think there's a almost an emotional sort of need of yours to step back a little bit, to sort of rejuvenate, to rest a little bit. Maybe there's been an experience at the emotional level, at least, of the density and his pain and his past. Potentially you had a conversation recently that really weighed on you, where he expressed a little bit about his past. And so, there may be a feeling of needing to have sort of rest and recover at this time. And I think it's, consider how your need for rest and reflection, might influence your emotions and behaviors within the relationship as well. So it's something to sort of actively manage, and whether, you've seen and how and what effect will that have you wanting and claiming for and asking for those sort of moments to pause, in the light of him probably passionately wanting to strive forward and don't worry about the past, that kind of thing. And if you're asking to sort of, I just need some time to myself, and just navigating that, we have the swords again here, communicating that is super healthy for you to do that, to communicate that. But also there's a little bit of mastery in how to wield that particular sword of truth, in knowing what may be under the surface of him emotionally, in that, he may receive that in rejection, for example, right? So there's a bit of a craft, a bit of a mastery to that expression that I feel maybe in the works for you there. Let's see what your intentions are ultimately for this relationship, because that will also, dictate a lot. Oh well, the Two of Cups. The major arcana of this card is the Lovers, so that runs through this, and so your intentions here are to enter into this really mutually beneficial, self-respecting, mutually respecting union, so that the third property of the relationship can emerge out of that, and for both of you to collaborate in that union for that to happen. So if that's your intention, that's really wonderful and noble and honest. And I feel like, this begins with you seeing him in your mind's eye as the sun, in that radiating joy, positivity, while at the same time understanding that, he's a complex human being, as we all are, and you need your rest as well, at certain times, and that will change over time, of course. But I think the intentions here with the Two of Cups are very clear. And for me, the key takeaway here is at the emotional level, because it's the cups representing emotions. At the emotional level, it's about fostering that safe environment for both of you to feel like you can express emotionally, and for that to feel like a safe experience to process. And oftentimes process is done in a sort of circular pattern, where you feel the tension of the energy of the emotion. So energy in motion is emotion, okay? And so as you begin to feel the energy inside the body, whether that's anger, sadness, joy, whatever it is, you begin to feel it. There's an intention to express it, right? So we have to go through this cycle. Once we begin to express it, it's at that crucial moment when the outside world begins to notice that inward emotion coming out, whether it's tears, anger, sadness, whatever it is. The moment we notice it, it's at that point there that most dysfunctional relationships shut it down, because it makes them feel uncomfortable, right? So a healthy sort of process here for you is to understand that when that emotion surfaces, in particular for him, because he's going to be so focused on the doing that he won't want to be with that which he cannot be with. So when that does arise, is can you foster an environment of harmony and love and mutual respect around him enough to allow him to process, to go to the next stage, where he will hit that rock bottom of the expression, the deepest, most painful part of it, And after that, there is the catharsis, the real cathartic return. And in the return and completion is where he will experience the integration and the sort of lift of moving that emotion, whatever that emotion may be. There will always be a feeling at the end of like, wow, I've actually energetically shifted something here, and there'll be a lightness associated. Maybe you're a bit tired and you'll fall asleep like a baby, whatever it may be, but there's that release. And if he experiences one of those circles in your presence, that will be transformational for him. And I think that is what is on offer here. Your intentions are here to really mutually create a sanctity for him to be able to step into and to be vulnerable. And that will just bring you closer to each other. There'll be more examples of intimacy and experiences of intimacy in the relationship, and really deepening that bond emotionally, which is crucial to a healthy relationship. So strongly and highly encouraging all of those things. Let us see what it is that you need to be aware of, like we did with him. What are some of the challenges, right? So what are some of your challenges at the moment? Okay, so we have this the juggler coming up here with the Two of Pentacles, and in terms of your challenges right now, then this card suggests that you may struggle with finding balance between the relationship and other aspects of your life at the moment. You might feel a little overwhelmed by the need to sort of manage various responsibilities and commitments, and it harks back to that need for rest. That may explain that. And so you feel a little overwhelmed by the need to manage those various responsibilities and commitments. And the Two of Pentacles, indicates that maintaining equilibrium and adapting to sort of changing circumstances is going to be a key challenge for you, I would say. And your struggle to sort of balance the various aspects of your life can lead to feelings of stress and tension, and that can be brought into the relationship as well. So just be mindful of that. Self-care is a priority, I think, at this point here. This otherwise can create moments of tension where you or your partner feel either neglected or unsupported. So, especially when there's a sensitivity to sort of maybe being abandoned or ignored or something like that that's present with him, and you're coming home and sort of not acknowledging him or something, something like that, that you don't really think much of, but because of the stress of the day, you're not fully present. There can be a sort of call there to compartmentalize different aspects of your life here, where I used to call them threshold moments in my day that I would have to remember. So before, if I left the car to come into the house, the threshold moment was the door. So instead of just rushing in with all my sort of thought pattern loops about work and the drive, how bad it was or whatever, it was a threshold moment, an opportunity to take a deep breath, ground myself, and kind of wear the husband hat before I stepped into the door. Cleansed, fresh, present, showing up for them, and then face that next phase. And that compartmentalization can be a really useful mechanism to help us sort of juggle all the different hats that we all have to wear these days, with so many things that we're all multitasking in any given day. And so just be mindful of that as that challenge that you may be facing at this time. All right, so let us now dig into a little bit about the union and the actual relationship itself, and a little bit of shadow work, we could say, within the connection. What is something that you need to be aware of in this union? What is something that you need to be aware of? And we have the Nine of Swords. Okay. To me, this is really pointing back to these, emotional kind of aspects that he has, and these underlying aspects that need to be addressessed. Okay, and we've already sort of spoken into them, but really, there's some sleepless nights here. There's anxiety. One or two of you, or one, anyone could be experiencing this because this is for the relationship as a whole. And it suggests that there may be those underlying issues causing that significant stress, that worry. And so, I think they stem from the fears about, personal insecurities, or those unresolved aspects, those open loops that we spoke about. And so really it indicates the need to address these worries openly and prevent them from, undermining the relationship. But as we spoke into it, I think your intentionality coming into this, how you hold them in your mind, is going to be perfect for setting the environment around both of you as the relationship to be able to address any concerns or anxieties or worries. And so, yeah, I think it can create emotional distance if it's not addressed. And I think that's the sort of advice here in terms of the relationship and what is the challenge within the relationship that needs to be addressed. It's definitely those things that keep you up at night, okay? And I think you're prepared, and I think you have all of the skill sets and intentions and love and support to be able to navigate that with wisdom, actually. Is what I see there. Let's just see what else, if there may be some other underlying aspects. And we have the Knight of Cups. And for me, this is just playing off what we're speaking about here, but I think it's an outward projection of idealism and romanticism, which romance is great, of course. There's always it's always healthy to have romance in a relationship. But no, what I'm saying here is that there can be a tendency to sort of go into the idealism too much and leave practical matters unaddressed or forgotten about. Okay, so there's a little bit of idealism as a shadow here, and I think that might be a tendency to avoid the inner work and sort of project out this rose tinted kind of everything's fine, and sort of not engage in the difficult conflicting conversations. All right, so what I want to do now is get a reading or some insight, shall we say, and a message from the Divine Feminine Oracle here. And, there is a definite nurturing aspect that is sort of being called out from this through line of this discovery here, this reading here. There's a nurturing element, I feel. So that's what my bones are feeling. And so we have Sarah Lakali. She's the queen of the outsiders. I have arrived. I am where I will always be, and that is in love. So for me, what comes to mind here is when we say the expression "we're in love with someone," I do very much see that as a location, not necessarily geographically or a place or a home, but I mean as this sort of metaphysical place. When two people are in love, they both come into that union. Okay, so being in love is a collaborative indication here, and there is a sense of work ethic associated with it. Like, we have to work to be in love. If we're out of that space and we're not in connection, that means that we're lacking intimacy. And so for me, it's like being in love requires us to maintain the connection in that space and create that space of the union. And the union stays together, through various practices. Presence is one of them. Okay, emotional vulnerability is another one. Truth, honesty, that's another one. And integrity, right? Being open-minded, not combative, being willing to put in the work. Also sacrifice. There is always an element of sacrifice when two become one, in that sense, because there are aspects of our identity, our past life, our single life, that has to be sacrificed in order to commit to this union. The idea being that union represents a higher order of good and beauty and truth, and to be in service of that, in my mind, is something far more meaningful, and we get so much more out of it. And there is that spiritual element of the spiritual transformation as a possibility. And so, yeah, this is a reminder, really, for me. This is the message that I get here, that coming into this union, let love be the thing that you guys are in, and let that container hold the transformation that is apparent that will occur, especially for him. And in doing so, I think there's going to be the foundations built there for a very, very strong, prosperous union. And actually, the challenges that are here, I think you can overcome fairly easily. I think you have all the ingredients and the potential here for you, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So, why don't we go ahead and drop a sun in the comments and let me know if this has resonated with you by dropping that in the comments. Also, leave comments. I love to read them. I love to engage with them and hear your voices, how this reading has been received by you, how has it helped, how does it relate to your life at this time. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again for trusting me, Maverick Mystic, with this reading here today. And I really look forward to doing it again soon. Until then, take care. Hello and welcome in card number 4 to this Your Reading, You versus Him. And we're going to be exploring what he is thinking, what his feelings, what intentions are about the relationship as well as yours. And we're going to be exploring the dynamics and the nuance of this particular union, this particular person and you, and how you both come together and interact, and what possibilities and what vision, what future is in stall for you. Okay, so let us begin. And we start with the Page of Pentacles, and we're going to be addressing what is in his mind, what's in his thoughts right now about you at this time. Please use this card to sort of get a feel, get a sense of the reading, and if it does resonate at any level, then stick with it. This is for you. But if not, I'd love you to go ahead and choose from a different pile. Okay, let's get into this then. This card really represents, new beginnings, but also practicality and practical approaches to those new beginnings, and a desire for learning as well, learning and growth. And in the context of his current thoughts about you, I think this card suggests to me that he views you as someone who brings a sense of fresh potential, opportunity to his life, and he likely thinks of you as a person who is also grounded, reliable, and really dedicated to personal growth and development. And I think the Page of Pentacles indicates that he sees the relationship as a valuable opportunity for that mutual growth and learning. I think also the page here is kind of asking you to consider how his thoughts about your potential, your and dedication might be influencing his behaviors and to sort of approach and the approach to the relationship. I think he likely appreciates your practical, grounded nature, and seeing you as someone who brings that stability, that sense of purpose to his life, and reflect on how his perception of you, as a source of growth and opportunity, shapes his actions and decisions. Is there congruence there with him? Is also understanding that he values your commitment to that personal development can, I think, help both of you align your goals and to work towards that shared vision of the future. I think he really admires the youthful energy associated with this card also. So I think his thoughts of you as a source of like new beginnings and growth can create a dynamic where both partners are motivated to support each other's personal mutual development. I think this can lead to a partnership focused on building that solid foundation and really working towards a common goal. Really recognizing and appreciating each other's strength and dedication. I think you're going to be able to foster a sense of mutual respect and collaboration. There's a real collaborative sort of energy that I see when he observes you and the thoughts that are going through his mind, And I think by nurturing the relationship built on this practical shared desire for growth, I think you can really create a strong, enduring partnership that really continues to evolve and flourish over time. But let us dive deeper into it and get some more nuance as to where he's at. And let's start with his emotional landscape, see where he's feeling at the moment. And look, this is another very positive card with the Four of Wands. And this card is a harmonious card. It's celebration. It's a sense of achievement. And I think in the context of his current feelings about you, this card to me suggests that he is feeling a deep sense of joy and fulfillment in the relationship. He likely views the relationship as a source of happiness and stability. I think he's feeling, strong emotional connection, contentment with you. And the Four of Wands, it indicates that he sees you as someone who brings that harmony, sense of celebration into his life. And he likely feels that sort of being with you brings completion as well. There's a real sense of fulfillment and completion about this, and I think he feels that at energetic level. And there's a lot of nurturing going on here, and creating that sort of those moments of joy, shared moments of joy. There's even sort of the feelings of future journeys together to foreign lands, to Italy is what I get the vibe of Italy here when I see this. Those kind of things. So there's a real alignment of his thoughts and his feelings. And so in terms of his intentions about the relationship, okay, so there's a bit of a juxtaposition here. So it seems like he's grappling from some elements of the past. There's yeah, maybe holding on to a little bit of regret at the moment about something. So, we'll expand on this a little bit as we go in the reading, but, we're seeing here maybe a focus on negative aspects of a situation that's occurred. Yeah, some disappointments potentially. And he might be trying to sort of move past these feelings and focus on the positive aspects of the relationship. But there is an there is an underlying sense of sorrow or loss that I think he needs to address for sure. And the Five of Cups, I think, also asks you to consider how his feelings of regret and disappointment, they might be sort of influencing his intentions towards the relationship. In terms of like he likely intends to overcome these negative emotions and work towards healing and reconciliation. So maybe reflect on how his past experiences, they might be affecting his current actions and decisions and his behaviors. You may be picking something up, something that's off. And so, I think the theme is centered around some kind of regret that he's kind of holding on to at the moment. And this is, adds a layer of complexity in the relationship for sure. While I think he generally does want to build a positive, fulfilling partnership, these lingering sort of negative emotions, they can sometimes overshadow his efforts a little bit. It's when we see this sort of dark cloak in the tarot, I often think about the shadow. So this is an internalized process that's going on. Often, it's dark and complex sort of area that one doesn't really want to face, but this is just an indication of the shadow material that we're talking about here. It's something that he needs to deal with. It's something that he needs to process. And I think he does have the intentions to move past these feelings of regrets and loss. And there's all the intentions there, if I'm honest, because this is the card of intentions, right? So I think he does want to move past. So he's in a state of readiness about healing, about moving forward, and really trying to sort of emotionally shift things around so he sees what he truly does have, as opposed to what he doesn't have, what he may have missed out on, and so forth. All right, so let us look at some of the challenges that he's facing beyond this in the relationship. Well, the Ace of Pentacles typically associated with new beginnings and prosperous new beginnings, new projects, new opportunities financially, etc. In the context of the challenges that he's having in the relationship, this to me suggests that he may struggle with taking the initial steps to build a stable and secure foundation. He might have difficulty recognizing or seizing opportunities for growth and stability within the relationship. The Ace of Pentacles sometimes indicates that while the sort of potential for prosperous and grounded relationship exists, I think he may face challenges in manifesting his potential into reality. So there's a little bit of a blockage manifesting material potential here, probably associated with the unintegrated material around his regret, which is making him a little scarce. So it's also associated with loss. Okay, and so if the loss kicks us into a vibration of scarcity, because we think there's not enough, right? But abundance is always just there, just around the corner. So tuning into feelings of abundance, which his emotional body is experiencing that in the future, he needs to experience it now. He needs to actually tune into to abundance now. And I think his difficulty in taking the initial steps towards building stability and security, they can create a certain uncertainty or a stagnation in the relationship. So this is going to be his particular challenge within the relationship. This can lead to, all kinds of things, missed opportunities for growth, development, also, struggle to sort of commit or invest in the future, and also it could be quite heavy burden to take if a man in particular, I know it sounds old fashioned, but this is still the case with men wanting to provide and secure and protect and all the rest of it. It's a biological driver, it's unavoidable. So, he may feel the weight of not being able to do that, or at least not taking those committed steps forward financially or materially because of that hesitation or because of that sort of tendency to linger on regret on what was and what was lost. Okay, so those are some of the dynamics there for him. And let us now take a look at yourself and where are you in your mind? What are you thinking about when you observe him? Okay, and so you have a very positive outlook on him. This is how you hold him in your mind, right? Actually, before we go there, I forgot one thing, and I'm going to use this card for that. And it's, despite the challenges, what I was going to say is, what does he find valuable? What does he love the most, and what does he find most valuable about the relationship? And the Page of Wands for me represents enthusiasm, adventure. There's a youthful spirit of exploration. And in the context of what he finds most valuable in the relationship, I think this card suggests that he deeply appreciates the sense of excitement and possibility that you bring into his life. And I think he really values the adventurous spirit and the way you inspire him to explore new horizons, to see things in new perspectives, and to really embrace those new experiences. I think the Page of Wands indicates also that he sees the relationship as that source of dynamic energy and growth, filled with that potential and the opportunities for new adventure and travel and what have you to foreign lands. And it also asks you to consider how your adventurous spirit and enthusiasm contributes to the relationship as a whole. Reflect on your energy and your willingness to explore those new opportunities. This is really influencing his feelings and his actions, and understanding that he values excitement and potential for growth can really help you both focus on nurturing these qualities. And he likely sees you as a partner who inspires him to really step out of his comfort zone. And I think he sees possibility in the healing aspect of things as well, in taking on new perspectives, as I said, and new possibilities. You give him full permission to experience that. So yeah, that's a really positive aspect. And I think he really appreciates a sense of adventure and enthusiasm in the relationship, and it creates that sort of invigorating energy in the union. So it's a super important thing. It's also important to maintain balance between spontaneity and stability as well, because him getting lost in the sort of carefree nature of things without initiating those practical matters for himself is not the answer either. So there's a balancing act to be done here. Ensuring that your relationship is grounded while also allowing space for new experiences is definitely a juggling act, and it's definitely something to be mindful of. But if we strive towards that balance, I think long term that's going to be providing a much smoother experience within the union. All right, let us now turn to yourself. And what is atop of your mind? Oh, marriage. Well, not necessarily, okay? This card, the Hierophant, represents all number of things, but typically rooted in tradition, in ritual, in higher wisdom, spirituality as well. And so it's a real appreciation for traditional structures. And marriage just happens to be one of them. But if you don't identify with that, that's fine. But it's still there's values is the biggest energy to tune into here. So you're beginning to think in terms of him. What are your values? What are his values? Do they align? Does the future look like? Can we, does he share my beliefs? What are his beliefs? You're really sort of mulling over where you're at in terms of that compatibility, I would say, with the Hierophant. And you're obviously thinking about him in the manner of seeing him as a stable, long-term, committed partnership, and wanting to lay strong foundations for that relationship. And I think this perspective can lead to that deeper sense of trust and mutual respect, as you both recognize and appreciate the importance of those shared values and commitments. All right, so it's that whether you do wrap them up and in the value structures of societies around you and your communities around you, religion, whatever it may be, but there is definitely a top of your mind right now, appreciating him as a stable long-term partner. And it may well be in the traditional sense of marriage. So, exciting times for you there, if that is the case. All right, emotions. Interesting. So, your emotionality right now. You see, when this is drawn for a man, it represents fear of the unconscious, of the unknown, fear of the feminine energies of chaos. But I think when it comes up for women, it's a reconnection to your wisdom and your intuition and your creative powers. So I think there's a deep seated intuitive knowing that may be difficult to put your finger on, but it's kind of a very grounded feminine understanding of the universe and life and trust and all the rest of it. So it doesn't necessarily invoke the emotion of fear in as much as it would a man. But I think this card coming up here in terms of your emotions is, I think, rich. There's a deep emotional connection here to him, and I think it's quite transcendent as well. It's beyond mundanity. It does transcend a little bit of everyday life kind of stuff, just the hustle and bustle and partnerships and bills and all the rest of it. There is you have a deep spiritual sort of emotional connection to this person, which is very exciting. And I think also associated with this, and because the Hierophant is there as well, wisdom is the value and the quality that's coming through here that I believe, is something that he is most definitely leaning into, feeling, experiencing. He appreciates that as well. I think there's that real resonance going on there between you two. So where are your intentions at with this union, your connection? I think we've kind of hinted at where your mind's at, and we see your emotional, deep-rooted connection, but what are your intentions for this relationship? Okay, interesting. So again, very similar to the way his intentions appeared. There's like a juxtaposition. We had the mind, the emotional feelings, and then there was this like hard juxtaposition sort of breaks on with the Ace of Swords and with him the Five of Cups. So I think what's happening here is that you have the intentions of really forming this strong union with him, but I think there are some mental restrictions going into this. I think there's some sort of mental entrapment, the limiting beliefs, or even you're just not unsure and a little constrained as to how to move forward in the relationship. Maybe you might intend to address certain issues or fears, whether they're yours or his, and I think you feel blocked by sort of doubts or uncertainties. Maybe you're aware of his personal experience of loss or regret and don't quite know how to sort of communicate your way through that. And it feels like you're at the initial stages of really popping through and opening up that nurturing circle of healing, where when we first express that thing, it feels horrible and hard. But once we get over the facts and express it out there, we move the energy out and we're received with non-judgment and love and tenderness. Then the circle can complete itself, and the sort of release of that old pattern can dissolve and can happen. And so I think the Eight of Swords indicates that you want to find a way to overcome these limitations and improve the relationship, but you're sort of struggling to see a clear path to do so at the moment. I think your intentions to address and overcome the feelings of restriction, I think, can really positively impact the relationship if you approach it with clarity, with determination. Speak your truth above all else, I would say. Speak. If you're scared, say you're scared. If you're afraid, if you're confused, if something's not right, just speak your truth as it is. And it will serve you well. And if you allow these sort of perceived limitations to dictate your actions, it can lead to stagnation. It can lead to frustration for both of you. So to move forward, I think it's crucial to communicate openly with your partner about your fears, your doubts, really working together. I think you're going to be able to find ways to support each other, to break free from the constraints that are holding him and you back at this moment. And this collaborative approach, it can really help to build that stronger, more resilient relationship where both of you feel empowered to overcome challenges and to grow together. And so by addressing the root causes of the feelings of restriction, I think you can make real meaningful steps towards creating a more open and really fulfilling relationship. All right. So maybe playing off that or beyond that, let's see what other challenges you may be experiencing at the moment in the relationship, the lovers. Well, whenever you see this card, it's all normally very positive, but, also woven into this card in the context of some of the challenges that you might be experiencing. It speaks of choices and difficult choices that have to be made. And in terms of the challenges within the relationship, it could be you may be struggling at the moment to make decisions or sort of maintain harmony or balance. There might be significant choices that need to be made, and these decisions could create tension or maybe uncertainty within the relationship. And I think the lovers here indicates that your challenges lies in ensuring that your choices align with both your personal values and the needs within the relationship. So that there's harmony is the word. You're striving towards harmony, but there's going to be some tough choices to be made, I would say. And so I think your challenge is with making decisions, maintaining harmony can create periods of tension and uncertainty, and that's just something to be aware of so you can navigate it when it does arrive. And I think these challenges, you know, they can lead to conflict and feelings of imbalance if not addressed properly. But to navigate these difficulties, I think is essential. Again, communication. It has to be top level. And look, let me give you a very grounded example of this. Okay, think of this communication pyramid. All right, so think of a pyramid. At the base of the pyramid, when you're communicating to your partner, we have all the things like menial stuff. Can you pick up a loaf of bread, for example? If you want to communicate that to a partner, then the level of technology or method of communicating has to match. Loaf of bread, you can text that to them. Yeah. As the importance goes up the pyramid, the type of communication used has to go up. So for the most important tip of the pyramid circumstances of communication, such as relationship, emotional pain, expression, worries, anxieties, etc., then the best method is in person, face to face, connected. That's the top gold standard type of communication that has to be used. Please don't use texting when actually you should be using in person. You understand what I mean? That misalignment in communication style based on severity of the situation. If you don't get that right, if there's no alignment at all levels, that will cause unnecessary problems in the union. And so I think here what's being asked for is that these choices, these conversations that need to be had in order to maintain harmony, your communication level quality has to be top notch. Okay, something not to be ignored, I would say, and that really does stand out for me. Hence why I'm sort of going over it a little bit more in detail here, because that's something that's standing out for me strongly here as something to share for you. All right, so we've had him versus you, and now I want to focus a little bit on the union and something to be aware of about the relationship, something to be aware of about this union. Okay, the star. Well, this card represents hope, inspiration, a sense of renewal. And so in the context of something to be aware of in the relationship, this card to me suggests that it's important to maintain a sense of optimism and faith in the future. Okay, there's a forward looking, there's the North Star, the guiding vision, and it indicates that the relationship, really has the potential for healing and growth for both of you. But it's going to require both of you to stay inspired and to really believe in the positive the possibilities ahead. And I think this card encourages you to focus on the light end at the end of the tunnel, that North Star, that guiding why of the union. And it consider how maintaining this hope and inspiration is going to influence the relationship. Right? Reflect on whether there are moments when you or your partner might be feeling a little discouraged or lose sight of the positive aspects of the connection. Understanding the importance of staying hopeful is going to really help both of you to navigate those difficult and testing times. And it's going to give you that sort of renewed sense of purpose and optimism if you stay, with one eye on the prize, as it were. And it's important to recognize that every relationship goes through ups and downs. That's just the natural ebb and flows of life. That's normal. And maintaining faith in your ability to overcome the challenges is what's going to strengthen your bond overall. But it's very, very useful having a guiding star as you're going through those storms. All right, just to keep your hope tank topped up, we could say. It's never lose hope. Okay, never lose the North Star. All right, so being aware of the need for hope and inspiration is going to really create a more resilient and positive relationship. Something to be aware of in the relationship. And obviously this applies as a general rule, but I think coming up in your reading more so. Okay? There's going to be challenging moments. There's going to be those storms. That's normal. Okay? And just having that North Star of a vision, maybe it's a vision, maybe it's you articulating that you want to get married and you want to go traveling like he really envisages this opportunity, to travel to new lands, you're passionate about it, etc. Continue to have that articulated throughout conversations at the dinner table and all the rest of it. Feel into it, and that will give you a sense of hope as the time goes by. All right. Let us now turn to the Divine Feminine Oracle and see what message wants to be transmitted for you here today. And it is Myo Shan, the Princess of Mercy. And she embodies the mercy, she embodies compassion, and in particular, unconditional love and the power of forgiveness. And so in the context of a message here from the Divine Feminine Oracle, I think it's suggesting that your relationship can be profoundly enriched. It can be profoundly enriched by embracing these qualities. Okay, see these as like the fabric that holds it together. And, her presence here indicating that approaching your partner and yourself with compassion, forgiveness, can really heal those past wounds, foster that deeper and more loving connection. Okay, so really embrace those qualities of compassion, unconditional love, forgiveness, moment by moment. And in this time here, I would also suggest that every waking day has the full potential of a new dawn and it full of possibility, full of potential. And so it's almost like declaring your relationship anew every day. Okay. And if you can do that and declare with that compassion, unconditional love, forgiveness, that is going to really serve you day by day by day. Keep that relationship fresh. And, also do your best to close out the day. Never go to bed on an argument, right? Never let your pillow hit your head or the other way around. Depends how big the argument is. Never let your head hit the pillow on an argument. This is an old wise advice that my mother once gave me, and it stuck with me, and it's so true. So close out the day with love, compassion, apologize if you have to apologize, come back to love, and have those sweet dreams, and then wake up renewed, fresh, and appreciative. And I think if you maintain that rhythm, that cadence within the relationship, you'll be able to navigate most, if not all, challenges that come your way. And so, with that being said, if this has resonated and you feel like claiming this reading here today, then please go ahead and drop a star into the comments. Drop a star in the comments. Let me know that this has resonated, that you're claiming it. Please leave comments as well. We love to read your comments. We feel more connected and engaged with you. Positive, negative, it's all good. Share it. It always helps us to really sharpen our blades of truth and be able to serve you as best as we can with honesty and integrity. And so again, thank you so much for trusting me, Maverick Mystic, with this reading here today. I hope it served you well. I look forward to doing it again soon. Take care.